Hey, how we doing? Midwest Survivor, time for dinner chat. So I want to say thank you to everybody that is checking out the videos. Hit the bell, hit subscribe. Uh, Started the new forum of Snack Short, just a brief little short video that's posted to YouTube that I'm going to be posting every day, various topics, various things to discuss. So one thing I wanted to talk about, and as I'm cooking, as I'm doing dinner right now, I'd like to just say one thing to everybody that is checking out the videos on YouTube or on Facebook or X or TikTok or whatever. You know, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to hit like. I know there's some of you out there that are watching it just to get information, and I understand, I get it, curiosity and trying to figure out what's going on, but this isn't about a particular situation. This is about helping people and helping men that are in the same situation that I've been become stronger, become healthier, and overcome situations. So one thing I want to talk about tonight is there are things about men that are going in this situation that I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about, if I can find it here, find my notes, is that 6 ways a toxic or dysfunctional person can ruin their home. And the first one is they turn home into a place of constant criticism, where every conversation is correction, where there's constant complaining, disapproval, and the home does not feel at peace. I can honestly say, growing up, that there was that in my home growing up, that one of my parental units was constantly complaining and constantly bringing up issues and constantly being an issue of all the time. And I can honestly say that there were times growing up that home did not feel peaceful. It felt chaotic. It felt like there was always turmoil. And the other parental unit didn't like to come home very often, liked to be gone quite a bit. And I think a lot of that was because home didn't feel peaceful. And that's completely understandable. If your home is not at peace, you're not going to want to be there. You're not going to want to spend time there. And I can honestly say, growing up in an environment like that, I didn't want to be there, and I don't think a lot of people did either. And also too, in my relationship, my home did not feel at peace. There was an atmosphere of criticism and complaining, of being told that I was nothing, and being told that I was worthless, and being told that I couldn't do things right, and then being told that I wasn't making enough money, and then whenever I was working overtime, being told that I wasn't home enough. So, that feeling of constant, just nothing ever being good enough was paramount. And that will ruin a home, that will cause a lot of issues and lead to a home not being a place of peace. The other thing is constant disrespect. Whenever one person constantly disrespects somebody when they're not getting their way, being angry and sad and upset is one thing, but humiliating somebody constantly, either privately or publicly or whatever, mocking them and attacking their dignity, and makes the marriage emotionally unsafe and unstable. And I can honestly say, growing up, I witnessed it in my family. Women that were disrespectful to the husbands, not only my parental units, but other members of my family that were disrespectful to their spouses. good people that provided, good people that made livings, good people that did whatever they had to do for that spouse. But to constantly disrespect that spouse and disrespect their dignity and make the marriage emotionally unsafe was not a good thing. And I saw it firsthand. I experienced it firsthand in my own relationships. The other thing is when they bring outsiders into private problems, families, friends, group chats, social media. Instead of being protective of the marriage, they include family members, brothers, sisters, parents, church members, whoever, however, co-workers. And they build public opinion. They build public opinion against that one spouse. And if you've got a problem with your spouse, it's okay to talk to other people about it, but it's not okay to constantly just emotionally and mentally vomit that stuff out and keep bringing people into the problems. The other thing, number 4, is withholding either compassion or affection to punish them, giving them the silent treatment, being passive-aggressive in their behaviors, becoming cold or just constant yelling and screaming. Distance does not teach love. Distance only teaches division, and it teaches a marriage on how to make a marriage grow colder. When this person, number 5 is when the spouse compares the other spouse to other people. Husbands comparing their wives to other women and wives comparing their husbands to other men. I can honestly say that I was compared to a lot, and it bothered me. I was told how other people were doing things, and I struggled with who I was as a person for a long time, and I finally realized who I am and who I am as a person. And I was not, and I am not ever about to let someone tell me who I need to be ever again, because who I am is who I am, regardless of what people think. Number 6, your spouse makes the entire marriage revolve around their emotions. Their moods decide and determine the peace or the turmoil of the home. Disappointment controls the energy. Anger sets the atmosphere. Feelings become the center of everything. An unhealthy person makes everybody else live under it. Children, family members, spouses, visitors to the home. Everybody has to live under that environment of instability and emotional turmoil. And finally, the last one, a spouse can be hurting and still look to be functional. The spouse can go to work, they can handle situations, and they can smile, and they can keep it together. But on the inside, they are mentally drained and they are emotionally fragile. A person doesn't have to collapse to be struggling. A person can have it all together and still be a mess. A person can be successful in their job, in their career, and still be hurting. A husband can be a good dad or a good mother and still be hurting. You don't have to have emotional or mental breakdowns to be hurting. You can be hurting in many ways. And when people disregard those feelings and say, well, that's just whatever. Well, I'm sorry, but until you have walked in that person's shoes and lived in their skin and lived in that environment, you're not in a place to say anything about that situation. Another one is sadness often comes out as frustration. Many people don't know how to say, I feel alone, I feel unappreciated, I'm mentally tired, I don't feel seen or heard or anything. Pain comes out as irritation or distance or anger. Not because the person is evil, but because they've been carrying so much for so long. And here's another one, and this is geared towards men, but men are taught to stay quiet. They're taught to endure pain and endure hardship because that's what we were taught to do, that men are supposed to endure. Now, I'm not saying that men need therapy. I'm not saying men need medication, but men need to be able to talk in an environment that is supportive and healthy. When a man is stressed or hurt or overwhelmed, we are just expected to just handle it. And I'm sorry to say, sometimes we've got more than what we can handle, and we just can't handle anymore. There's no complaining, no breaking down, no crying, no tears. No getting of support. We just bury it. But buried pain just doesn't disappear. It waits like a landmine to be stepped on. And the last one is anger and rage is often the last language that people use. When a person feels unheard or unseen or whatever, their emotions may stop coming out softly and may come out like a volcano of heat and rage and fire. This doesn't excuse hurtful behavior, but it does explain why people explode in rage after being emotionally, verbally, or mentally abused for years and years and years. So let me just say, if you are experiencing any of these symptoms, I encourage you and I implore you, find people to talk to. Find people that will listen. And if people aren't listening to you, find other people that will listen. I can guarantee you, if there are people in your life that aren't listening to what's going on in your life, I can guarantee you there is somebody, there is a group out there, there is men out there that have been where you've been, that are going through what you're going through, that will listen to you, that will be sympathetic, that will be compassionate. And ladies, if there are women in your life that aren't listening to what you're going through, I would encourage you, reach out to a group, reach out to some people that have your best interests at heart, that won't judge you or just disregard your feelings, but will listen to you with openness and compassion. So, as always, this is Midwest Survivor. I encourage you, if you're hurting, if you're going through a situation like what I'm going through right now, find some people that will listen to you. Find a group of men or women, depending on if you're a man or a woman, and just get together with them, go have coffee, go grab a sandwich, and just sit down and talk to them and open up about what's going on in your life. You don't have to go to a licensed therapist, you don't have to go on medication, but it's important that you find people that care about you, that encourage you, that want the best for you, that want you to be healthy. And as always, I'm leaving you healthy, stay strong, find a place to get healthy and get strong. And always remember, you can overcome, you will overcome. Just get to a place where you can find people that will help you and encourage you and believe in you, that won't be toxic or narcissistic, and get strong. So Midwest Survivor, enjoy your dinner, enjoy your evening. We'll talk tomorrow. Take care. Have a good night.